The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the little mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. Welcome back, Chorus. Looking good. I see you've got your mold on. Regulars, hello. Newbies, welcome. Worshippers, get out of here.
Hey, Doc, why don't they play music in a skeleton's church?
I don't know, Chorus. Why don't they play music in a skeleton's church?
Because there are no organs.
And on that note, it's time for horror news. Charles Cyphers, Sheriff Lee Brackett himself from Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween Kills, died after a brief illness Sunday, August 4th. He was 85 and surely will be missed. As of last week, Maxine is available on video on demand. And move aside, Cocaine Bear, Meth Gator sidles on up sometime this August. The director of 1408, Mikhail Hafstrom, delivers terror in outer space when his film Slingshot releases to theaters August 30th. And that's it for horror news. She said, and Brownie agrees. Brownie, the corpse-sniffing dog.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Deep Death Dive. Today's Deep Death Dive, those who know, right? Faces of Death, 1978. Directed by John Allen Schwartz. Mondo Bizarro at its best. Banned in 46 countries. That statement alone got the average teenager in 1985 to cough up the price of a rental any given day. Marketed as a glimpse at actual raw footage of death caught on camera, it catapulted this VHS to legendary status, with stories of high school teachers showing it to their class, or the teenager who killed his friend after watching it so he could know what it felt like to kill someone. The first draft of the film was going to be nothing more than a graphic archival footage so excessively gratuitous that most wouldn't have been able to stomach it. But director Schwartz changed that when he hired actor Michael Carr of Chicago to play Dr. Francis B. Gross, the coroner whose narration would link recreated events that looked real to authentic footage. Unfortunately, the majority of the authentic footage is zoological violence. This film and its sequels ended up more than a few times in the weekend horror marathons of Teenage Doc Mark and friends. We would dare each other to watch continuously without looking away or leaving the room. And I must confess, I never completely made it through the whole segment of the Monkey Brains dinner scene, nor do I care to. The Faces of Death documentaries will always be looked at as the unofficial dark web stand-in of the early 80s. The original Faces of Death is now streaming on Shudder. Watch it, if you dare.
We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Don't you wish you were as cool as Horror Chat Matt, Scary Larry, Grim Kim, Brownie, Once in a Blue Moon, Whitney or Brittany? Well, you can be. Just send your voice message to me, Dark Mark, at Macabre Theater on Facebook.
Hi, Dark Mark. And Karis, the little mummy. This is Tina from Chicago.
You, want I should wash the dead bugs off the windshield?
I'm just calling in to say that I listened to your last show, and I like what you're doing with that confessions thing. And I have a confession to make.
Secret confessions.
I am the only person that I know that didn't like long legs. I'm sorry, maybe it was the hype. I went into it thinking it was the next silence of the lambs, as they say. But I didn't like it, and I agree with Scary Larry, what he said about the continuity in the end. It gave me a headache. And I also have to say that I like Nicolas Cage. He could have been in the movie a little bit more, but I thought his makeup was laughable. I actually thought it was funny, and it didn't scare me, and that's all I have to say about that. But I'm going to see Trap, and I'll probably not like that either because it looks stupid, but I don't know, we'll see. And I'm going to see a movie called Cuckoo, and I'll get back to you and let you know what I think. But, sorry to be so negative. It's probably just the hype. You can't believe the hype, So I hope you're having a good summer, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes, I do want to see Longlegs, but that's definitely a wait for streaming for me. I'm not going to run out and see it. I've heard mixed things, but I'm very curious about seeing it. Trap, I just have no faith in. Just the whole basic premise that I've heard. I'm not saying that I won't watch it if it becomes available on streaming. I'm sure I will. But be interesting to see what others think of Trap. Like I said, I feel M. Night, Shyamalama Ding Dong can go either way, good, bad. You never know with him. But thanks so much, Tina from Chicago. Always appreciated. Love hearing from you. So one feature about Shudder that I really like is I like Shudder's live TV, where they have basically 3 different channels and they randomly play live, they stream live different movies that they may have on there that month. And I recently came across a movie called A Wounded Fawn, which I knew nothing about. It's from 2022, directed by Travis Stevens, starring Josh Rubin and Sarah Lind. I really enjoyed this movie. This is basically the gist is Meredith has a weekend getaway date with Bruce, Bruce being Josh Rubin, at this secluded cabin in the woods. Probably not the best way to get to know somebody, to go to a secluded cabin when you first start dating someone. But regardless, Meredith she's just getting off of an abusive relationship. And unknown to her is that this new boyfriend, this new guy she's dating, going away to the cabin with Bruce, he's a serial killer with plans of adding her to his mounting body count. You throw some Greek mythology, woven that into the story for good measure. And really, the first 2 acts of this film are really strong and really intense. I loved it. The third act suffers, in my opinion, because it just plays too long. But there are even times in the third act that you basically, it's like Ode to Evil Dead 2. I get that kind of vibe in there. I don't feel you need to sit through the entire ending credits. They're a bit weird, and they offer no further insight or purpose. But you'll see what I mean when the end credits come. You'll feel compelled to watch them to the very end. You don't need to. But this is a great watch. It's streaming now on Shudder.
He was missing. Now he's back. It's the return of Horror Chat Matt.
So tell me what is wrong, yeah, let's talk.
Hey, Doc Mark and Karis, Hard Chap Matt here, back from vacation. And one thing I never take a vacation from is the latest episode of Macabre Cast. Another fantastic show. Just finished listening to it. Great job as always, Dark. As I mentioned, I was on vacation this week, and I was sitting at the beach down at the Cape, and as Anybody who has listened to the show before knows that Jaws is my all-time favorite movie. So I don't tend to swim too deep into that ocean water, especially down the Cape these days. And it got me thinking, what are some of my favorite shark movies that are not Jaws? And I came up with the top 3 list. Number 3 is The Shallows, which stars Blake Lively. More of a survival story where she basically battles a great white shark one-on-one. And surprisingly, it's not a bad little flick. Some pretty decent CGI on the shark as well. Number 2 is a more lower budget movie called The Reef. And there is a attack in that movie that it's just haunts me to this day, just with how realistic and how easily the shark picks off one of the characters. And then my number 1 favorite shark movie that is not Jaws is Deep Blue Sea. Definitely a sci-fi goofy movie. Turn up your brain and just have fun and go along for the ride. Always a fun movie that I enjoy popping on every now and then. What are some of your favorite non-Jaws related shark movies, Dark? I'm curious. As always, keep bringing the macabre to all your legions of monster kids as we look forward to each and every week's new episode.
You know, you have to wonder if certain things get instilled in you because you saw them or they happened when you were young. So I almost wonder if can nothing truly compare to Jaws because I saw it at such a young age when there was nothing like that remotely at the time, and it has just stuck with me? Or is it just truly the best shark movie? And I'm going to go with that. Truly the best shark movie. That being said, let's talk about Deep Blue Sea. Well, I get how you can see it as a fun movie, maybe a turn off your brain film, but I think my expectations were so high because a new shark film was coming out, and this was at a time we weren't being flooded like we are now with shark films, and where they were going to use CGI. I thought, wow, this is going to be really powerful. This is going to look real. I gotta tell you, Jaws still looks more real than Deep Blue Sea. I think my expectations were too high. I was never impressed and never cared for that movie. I don't like the way it looks. I didn't find it scary. And me personally, I can't even find it as a fun film. The Shallows, I'll tell you, I thought was excellent. Probably the best shark film, in my opinion, since Jaws. I don't think it's better than Jaws, but it's definitely one of the best, in my opinion, since. The tension level was very high. You generally some very intense and scary scenes. The shark footage looked really good. Definitely the best. And The Reef I liked very much too, but I would definitely put The Shallows at the top. Nothing else comes to mind since that has come out that I think has been done better. Of course, I haven't seen them all. As far as a fun movie, there was one, and I can't remember the name of it, where a grocery store had flooded due to some kind of hurricane or storm, and there were sharks swimming through it. That to me was fun. I personally never felt the shark in Jaws looked fake. I don't know why people feel that way or think that way. I almost wonder if it got said at some point and just became the popular opinion or thing to say. Because I'll tell you right now, 50 years later, I still think it looks real. I still think it's scary and intense. The movie still works, and it's better than anything they've come out in the last 50 years. As always, Horror Chat, thank you. Have a great week, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the man who sees it, so we don't have to. Scary Larry.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Hey, Larry! Oh, ain't no young girl now! You won't go back and drown, you little man.
You
like you're having fun.
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here, and I recently saw M. Night Shyamalan's movie Trap. I didn't have high expectations going in. It was my brother-in-law's pick of movie, but I must say I was pleasantly surprised. Josh Hartnett does a good job portraying a serial killer known as the Butcher, terrorizing a city. He's really a guy named Cooper who takes his daughter to her favorite singer's concert. Lady Raven in the movie, played by M. Night's daughter, has a Swiftie-like cult following, and he couldn't resist bringing his daughter to try and bond with her better. She's having problems in school, bullied, typical trope. But anyways, not too long after getting inside the concert, a t-shirt guy let it slip that the entire concert has been a setup, thus the name Trap. Police got a tip that the Butcher would be attending this concert and has locked down the entire arena, so no one can get out without dealing with the police first. You can see Cooper's diabolical nature and cunning begin to collide with his paranoia as he becomes more desperate to escape with his daughter undetected. I've read a couple of reviews with folks disappointed in a lack of the signature M. Night twist, but I enjoyed the film mostly. Hartnett's performance gave me BTK vibes in the cold-blooded nature of how he handles things. I do give this 2 3/4 stars, only because the plot itself is absurd. No matter how desperate the FBI is to catch a serial unsub, they would never put the lives of innocent people, especially teenage girls, at risk simply to catch the Butcher. Once you look past that, it's a pretty good cat and mouse movie. It's another wait till it comes out on video to watch. Don't rush off to the theater to see it. All right, enjoy your week.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So they got wind that the serial killer is going to this concert, but they don't know who the serial killer is. I'd love to know how that's executed, because that alone is troubling for me with the plot, but I don't know, maybe it was pulled off, maybe there's a good explanation for it. Either way, maybe eventually I'll see this film. I have no motivation to, but as always, thank you, Scary, for seeing it so we don't have to.
I'll get it, Dark.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, Little Karis. How are you? Grim Kim checking in.
Hi, Grim.
From the tip of the Cape. I'm in Wellfleet, thoroughly enjoying myself on vacation at my sister's, my twin sisters, and I'll be here till Friday, and we have some more fun things planned. The first half of vacation, we had brought Mom down too. She's 84. I don't know what got into me. I wasn't really trying to torture anyone. It's one of those am I the apple?
Oh, for the love of Mike.
So the first night, I make them watch The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken. Oh, it's so good. I know you're going to say it's been forever since you've seen that one. It's so old. And he's another one. It's like he's a caricature of himself. And that's the highest compliment, because that actually means he just is someone who's very, very authentic to themselves. But that was a really good one. So the next, was that the first? Yeah. So the second night I get into, because I had been wanting a rewatch, I make them watch Ghost Story. And, it has the older guys in it, Astaire, and I thought she would enjoy it. She did enjoy it. She did. She was like, I think I've seen this. Okay. It's rated R. like, oh, they're tumbling around. It was like, oh boy. And like, at the beginning of the movie, like the guy, he falls through this plate glass of the apartment and he's just, things are waving around on the way down. So anyway, yeah, she liked it. Dead Zone 2. Dead Zone 2, I think she enjoyed both. She said, Ghost Story, it's the weirdest movie she's ever seen. But yet she was saying how she thought she had seen it before. Anyway, after this one, long romantic interlude, Mom chimes in, you seen them one, you seen them all. And we just get freaking silly laughing our asses off about that. But anyway, I may continue the Stephen King thing with my sister, so I just downloaded all the movies available on that are available as far as Stephen King novels that are available as movies. Let me put it that way. I think I've seen probably 75-80% of them. There's quite a few on this list that Mom would enjoy, and I think that's the good thing about Stephen King. He's kind of like horror light. It's like horror, but people are familiar with Stephen King, and you could find like one story that you think whoever you're going to watch with would appreciate on some level, whether it's the story, the time it's set in, all that, lack of gore, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of movies my mom would like because there are a lot that are set back in like her day, in her younger days, including Stand By Me, of course, and Green Mile, both of which she has seen and really, really enjoyed. Dolores Claiborne, I have to ask her if she's seen that, because that would be a good one for her. Anyway, I'm reading through the list. I don't know if I've seen Desperation. I really liked that Stephen King book. So I have to check and see if that's something. Of course, at the very top of the list is the movie that's coming out, Life of Chuck. And I'm sure I have read it in the anthology. And I'm not going to go back and read it at this point, but I am very curious to see the movie version of that. Boogeyman just came out recently, like the last few years. I need to see that. I loved that short story. It is one of the more terrifying of the short stories for him, for several reasons, not just the story itself, but it depends on, where you are at that time reading the story. And I think I was a young mother when I read it the second time. It freaked me out so bad. Anyway, I'm enjoying myself, and I'm listening to all my true crime podcasts as well. There's this really interesting one, if anyone cares to look it up. It's about the vampire of the Cape Cod. And it was a serial killer that was skulking around down here. And it's a very, very interesting story. This has nothing to do with the murder of Krista Worthington from a decade ago or so. But anyway, we just get a kick. We're going into Provincetown, picking up my sister there today. We'll be kicking around there the next couple days, and really enjoyed American Horror Story that was filmed in P-Town. I think it was 3 seasons ago. And it's weird because like you're watching and you're like, wow, I was just on that same brick paved street, a month ago, or whenever I saw it it was after the summertime, and it was cool. And so that's it. I'm sorry, I don't have anything too exciting to share, but I am on holiday, so I'm sure you will not begrudge me that. One thing I did want to say about my little Stephen King list is there's a couple I definitely need to watch again, because did I really see Tales from the Dark Side? And is that an anthology? I gotta check that out. I think it's an anthology. Some of them, I'm looking at my list, I'm like, okay, Carrie's up to 2 and a remake and a sequel of a remake. Oh, come on, stop. You know what I mean? Return to Salem's Lot. I do not think I've seen that. I gotta check that out too. I will let you know next time if there's anything new or new to me on my Stephen King comprehensive list here. And I will talk to you later. Bye.
Grim Kim's twin sister Well, I already have a name for her, so I think it's a rule that if I have a name for the person already, then you have to bring them on the show, because it would be Twin Grim. You got to bring Twin Grim on the show in one way, shape, or form. And I don't want to hear she doesn't like horror movies. You all just watched them. In the film Dead Zone, I love Dead Zone. Yes, it has been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember. And it seemed to be a movie kind of ahead of its time. And it almost felt like it should have been longer, which really wasn't a thing back then. They tried to keep everything at an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. And nowadays we have these 3-4 hour movies. It definitely seemed like it should have been longer, but I like it. And Dead Zone 2? Question mark? I didn't know there was one. Or did you say Dead Zone 2 by mistake also, but didn't realize there was? And have you seen Apt Pupil? That's one of my favorites. That was one of my favorite short stories and adaptions. And yes, I myself am very familiar with the Vampire of Cape Cod. I'm familiar with that crime. Don't know if I heard the podcast that you were talking about, but I am familiar with that particular crime. And then you said Tales from the Dark Side being Stephen King, which Tales from the Dark Side, I believe, was a movie based on the series Tales from the Dark Side that ran in the 80s. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, was actually going to be Creepshow 3, and they kind of changed it up at the last minute. But I think you mean the dark half. Do you mean the dark half? Stephen King's The Dark Half? So that is your mission, Grim Kim, to get Twin Grim on the show sometime. No time limit, just at some point would be good. But as always, thanks for an awesome discussion. See ya. This was a great show this week, Monster Kids. I will be on holiday, so there will be no Macabre cast on August 19th. I know, we'll make it. We'll be okay. You can always listen to old episodes. But I will be back the following week. This is a much needed holiday. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon. This is a Macabre Theater production.
Oh, Lordy frickin' God!